Metal fans, as you probably know, can be some of the most rabid, die-hard, and dedicated fans that there are. They'll always be loyal unless you change. Any kind of change is really difficult for metal fans to accept, and often will be met with accusations of being a sellout. And I get it. You know, you got this thing that you love that used to be kind of underground. It was special because not that many people were into it. So it's hard to accept it when a lot of people are into it. The thing you gotta remember though is no band puts out an album onto a label of any kind, even a small one, if they don't want to sell, if they don't want people to buy their album, if they don't want it to be big. I don't care what you ever heard Euronymous from Mayhem say. They wanted to be big too. They didn't want to just be underground, and if you wanted to be totally underground, you wouldn't even sell your album. You'd just make it, burn your own copies, hand them out to friends. But the thing is, as artists, we evolve. Any kind of artist. And we don't want to just do the same thing all the time, over and over again. Now, I love painting beautiful women, but it's not all that I want to paint. It's mostly what I want to paint. But you got to remember that musicians, they have all kinds of influences. Usually a lot of these bands, when they start out in their 20s, and when you're in your 20s, you're very passionate and you're hard-headed. You think you know more than you do. And that can result in some amazing music, you know, again, passionate. So of course, when you're a young fan, listener, you're gonna latch onto that. And you don't ever want to see it change. But as a musician matures, they want to try other things as well. They realize that there's things that maybe they had earlier influences that they just never really put enough focus into using those influences. There's probably no band in the world that's had more accusations of being a sellout than Metallica. And, you know, if you grew up in the 80s like I did and discovered their earlier albums that were, you know, a lot heavier, then of course, hearing Nothing Else Matters is a little bit difficult when you're used to Dyer's Eve and Battery. I still believe that Metallica is a band that, you know, I mean, they just kind of wanted to try other things. I understand that. I've been there. I've gone to a place in music in the past where I wanted to try some other types of music that I also loved. And some of my bandmates weren't really thrilled about that. It's understandable, but it's just something that maybe you feel like you got to get out. The great thing about it is usually you get a little older still, move on even past that to where you end up wanting to go back to where you were originally in music. But evolution and maturing, I mean, it's just a natural process, and it even happens to the fans. You know, I can think of a time when, you know, I used to say certain bands that I just absolutely hated. I don't think I really hate any bands anymore. There's tons that I just don't listen to. I just don't care about. But I don't feel like I hate them. And it's good to hear some of these bands go back again. You know, I wasn't really thrilled with Metallica doing the Load and the Reload album. Even Death Magnetic, I just thought was trying a little too hard. But Hardwired to Self-Destruct, I actually like that album a lot. I understand that it's hard to face change, and it's hard to accept it. Certainly if you come in now, if you're in your 20s and you're discovering metal, you're discovering stuff way heavier, maybe you don't even have the same appreciation for it. I actually saw a kid on Facebook the other day trying to say that Metallica wasn't metal. It's in their fucking name, you idiot. Of course they're metal. They're just, well, your dad's metal, I guess. But they were innovators, and they changed music forever. You could say they sold out. Maybe they did at some point. I don't know. But one thing is for certain. Evolution is just natural. It's going to happen to all of us. It's going to happen to you. Some bands, yeah, you'll always be able to count on. Slayer's always going to sound like Slayer. AC/DC still sounds exactly like they did 40 years ago. But for the most part, bands are going to change at least a little bit. You may not be ready for it. You may love it. Be open-minded and give it a chance, because an artist is changing. It may not necessarily be because they're selling out. Maybe because they have something new to share with you if you've got an open mind.